Here are three cities in Orange County where home values are actually dropping. Now, although the overall market in Orange County is doing pretty well, there are a lot of areas where home values have actually dropped quite significantly. Despite what other realtors are saying, yes, cities do have pretty significant corrections, even in Orange County. I know a lot of people are saying it's the best time to buy a home, but today we're going to actually look into all three of these cities, talk about the data, and discuss if it's legitimately a good time to buy in these areas. And one of them actually seems like a pretty decent opportunity. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ian Phillips. I'm a realtor in Orange County and the creator and developer of this platform, themarketvector.com. Essentially, it tracks 190 cities across 5 counties in Southern California. Pretty much every single housing metric that you can think of. There's a ton of free information on here for you as well. If you do want to upgrade, there are significantly more perks with that. $99 a year or $12 a month. So let's get straight into it. Now, the first one is Yorba Linda, where home values are actually down 14% year over year. Now, what's interesting about this one is that it actually kind of seems like a pretty good buying opportunity. And I'm going to tell you why right now. So inventory is down 8.8% year over year, while home values are down 14%. But what's even more interesting to me is the fact that pending sales, which is an indication of demand, is actually up 34% during the same period of time, and homes sold, which is actual sales, is up 37% year over year. Now, what this tells me is that we're probably going to see a pretty significant reversal in home values. Yes, they're down year over year, and I'll get into the graph in a minute, because they're actually also down for the last 2 years. But right now, I just updated this data as of this month. If we're seeing inventory dropping while pending sales are increasing this much and homes sold are increasing even more year over year, this is probably a, I guess, bottoming process, if you want to call it, where home values in Yorba Linda surged dramatically, and now they've just been having a correction over the last couple of years to make up for the massive increase in home values that this city saw. And in my opinion, with all of this data, it kind of looks like a really good time to buy if you're a buyer in this market or if you're an investor. If we take a look at some of the market health metrics, you can see that cash purchases right now, 26% of this market is being purchased in cash. For a market where the median home value is $1.3 million, that is quite significant. And I do want to just pull it up on the search page here so you can see it a little more clearly. So 26% of this market is having a price reduction, so almost a quarter of all homes that hit the market are dropping in price. Demand rate. This is another metric why I think home values are likely going to increase in the near future, because demand rate is the percent of listings that are being purchased when they hit the market. And this is up 50% year over year. So a dramatic change while home values are down. If I was an investor looking for an opportunity, Yorba Linda would be one of the cities on my radar, because right now, with demand rate increasing, homes sold increasing, supply declining, we're seeing month supply of inventory at 2.7. Typically, when you have this low of a supply, you do start to see values increasing. And there's no foreclosure activity here. So only 3 foreclosure filings last month, no homes being sold by the bank, a very, very good sign. 18% of this market is being purchased by investors, and investor buying pressure is 2.3. So this means roughly for every 1 investor selling, there's 1.3 investors buying. And what I want to see in any market where I'm purchasing is good economic data. Median household income, $150,000, that is very, very high. Unemployment rate, very low, 3.5%. Home ownership rate, very high. Vacancy rate, very low. Good crime scores, good school performance. So let's take a look at the graph and see what the median home value has been doing in Yorba Linda for the last few years. And I'm going to smooth this out so we can see it a little clearer. So home values had a huge run up in 2023. You can see there was a decent correction in 2022, dropping from 1.28 million down to 1,060,000. So what was that? It was like a 15% drop in a year. That is a pretty significant correction. And what happened? Home values surged after that, going as high as $1.55 million in August of 2024. And what's been happening for the last couple of years? Home values have been going through a correction here. And in my opinion, we are 100% in this process where home values, well, 99% in my opinion, where home values are likely going to trend higher in the near future. You can see they peaked at $1,550,000, dropped all the way down to $1,240,000. That is a 20% price drop in a year and a half. Home values dropped $300,000. That is an extremely significant amount, and presents a buying opportunity for a lot of people if you're interested in getting your primary residence. Maybe you're upsizing from a condo, you want to get into that single family home mark, or you're an investor looking to cash flow. Yorba Linda definitely seems like a good opportunity. Before we continue, I will say that the next city does not look like a buying opportunity. So just because home values are down year over year doesn't necessarily mean it's time to jump into the market. But I will say Yorba Linda does present itself, based on the data, to look like a pretty good time to purchase a home. So the next city that we're going to be jumping into is Aliso Viejo. So home values, although they're down 1.3% year over year, kind of irrelevant. I'll show you the graph in a minute because they're actually down even more for the last 2 years. What's significant about this city is that inventory is up almost 20% year over year, while homes sold is down 15% and pending sales are down 14%. So the opposite of Yorba Linda. Yorba Linda, you're seeing a huge price drop year over year. However, inventory down, demand up, makes for an environment where home values are likely going higher. And Aliso Viejo is the opposite. Inventory up, homes sold down, demand down. 40% of this market is having a price reduction. 20% purchased in cash. Demand rate down 28% year over year. Remember, Yorba Linda was up 40%. Aliso Viejo's down 28% year over year. Investor buying pressure way lower than Yorba Linda at 1.14, so it's almost in equilibrium. There's almost the same amount of investors selling as there are investors buying. Good economic indicators. Again, most of Orange County is going to be better than average in terms of economic indicators. I will say home ownership rate is significantly lower than Yorba Linda, 56%. Yorba Linda was almost 80%. So let's get into the graph for Aliso Viejo. We can see that we'll smooth this out. Over the last couple years, home values have been dropping, like I mentioned. In February 2024, they peaked at $983,000, and they went all the way down to $860,000. So $123,000 price drop. That's over 10%. Now they're around $900,000. That's still around a 10% price reduction in the last 2 years. But remember, we are seeing inventory increasing and demand declining in this city. So even though home values are down, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't always mean that it's a good time to buy. The reason I created this platform is to track markets, give my clients way more information so they can make decisions for themselves, as well as offer this to other agents, buyers, sellers in any market, so you can really get an idea of what's happening in your specific city. So if you want to check this out, link in the description below or on my bio. So that's Aliso Viejo. Now we can overlay active listings to kind of see how this correlation plays out. Sometimes it's correlated, sometimes it's not, but either way, we're seeing inventory surging in Aliso Viejo. In March of this year, 52. Right now, we're seeing 88 homes on the market. While prices have been, relatively flat all year, having minor increases month over month, but you can kind of see this overall trend. Prices peaked in February 2024 when inventory was very, very low, 39 homes on the market. And as home values have been slowly trending down, yes, they've gone through, surges going from 888 to 980. Inventory has been steadily increasing. We can see this, and home values have been trending down. So for Aliso Viejo to present an opportunity to me, I want to see inventory declining while prices start to stabilize. And unfortunately, that is just not happening. Inventory is continuing to go higher. Now, the last one is La Habra, where home values are down 20% year over year. And similar to Aliso Viejo, inventory is up, home sold is down. This is a market, you want to see this stabilize a little bit before jumping in, but I will say 20% drop year over year. That's a pretty significant discount if you're an investor or a home buyer in this market. So some of the market health metrics, 12% purchases in cash, that's very low compared to the others we were looking at. 30% price reductions. Investor purchases, very, very low. 12% of this market is being purchased by investors. Month supply of inventory is higher than the other two markets that we looked at. So again, all of this makes a lot of sense. This is the largest price reduction year over year. Investor purchases are the lowest of both of these markets, and so are cash purchases. So again, all of this makes a lot of sense when you look at the nitty-gritty of the data. Household income is the lowest of the two cities as well. Let's take a look at briefly the graph of La Habra, see what's going on here. Smooth this out. Yeah, so they didn't peak in 2024. They peaked in August 2025 at 900,000, now sitting at 780. So home values are down, 15% since August 2025, and 20% year over year. So that is pretty significant information to analyze exactly what's going on in the housing markets. I wanted to make this video because every realtor that posts online is saying, wow, home values are surging, inventory is declining, but it's not true everywhere. Here are, 3 good examples where house values are down significantly, inventory is up, and only one, in my opinion, presents a really good buying opportunity where I could foresee home values going up in the near future and over the next couple years. La Habra, Aliso Viejo, I want to start seeing inventory declining while buyers are stepping in to start driving home values higher. But that's it for the video. Like I mentioned, if you want to browse these markets yourself, link in the description below. There's a ton of free information on here for you. Follow me for more if you want more updates across Southern California real estate. I'll see you next time.